Okay, so another episode of Length Does Matter. Bit of an unusual one for us, this Rushy, because it's 10:15 in the morning. We're used to sitting on a Friday night having a beer, but I think even for our standards, 10:15 on a Thursday morning isn't ideal drinking conditions.
This is a bit too early for me, I think, especially with we start pre-season next week, so I don't think that would go down too well. But nah, it's quite nice to do it on a morning, feel a lot fresher. Obviously, there's daylight, and it's nice to have a superstar guest lined up.
Oh, Adam Hollioake, how we doing?
Oh, sorry, I thought we had someone else coming on when you said superstar. So nice to meet you guys, eh?
Spot on. Adam, I've done a little bit of, believe it or not, I've done a little bit of research for this, Rushy. Fair to say, Adam, in the early part of your life, you guys kind of travelled around quite a lot in your childhood and growing up and things like that. How did you end up at Surrey?
Well, as you said, my dad was an engineer, and he travelled a lot with his work. So I was about 12, and my dad, I was living in Australia until then, apart from the travel. And my dad got posted in a job in Wimbledon, in Surrey. So he ended up working there as an engineer, and then we ended up at St George's College in Weybridge, and that was kind of how we ended up there. And then obviously, as you know, the private school system, there's a lot of cricket played there. Me and my brother, we played cricket, rugby, hockey, all the normal private school games, and that was it really. So from the age of 12 onwards.
Did you play a lot of cricket when you were travelling before you sort of settled down in Surrey, or was it once you got to Surrey and there was a lot of cricket in the schools and stuff, then you kind of took it up then, or was it something you did for a while?
No, I didn't. I think I played maybe 3 or 4 competitive games of cricket in my life before I got to England.
Wow.
At the most, I'd say. So yeah, basically learnt my cricket once I got to England. I mean, just because I hadn't played many competitive games, we used to play in the backyard and in the garage and down the park, whatever. So there was no formal coaching. I never got coached cricket till I got to England.
I've been to Australia a few times to play in our winters and stuff, and I've never seen anywhere in the world that has a love for backyard cricket than Australia. Literally everyone plays it. It's like a Christmas tradition. So I stayed with a family every day, Christmas Day. There was a huge test match in the back garden, and it was so serious. But literally everyone from the cricket club would play back garden cricket. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's true. It is one of those traditions, I think, because Christmas period is the longest holiday period, and I think Australian, just like English, the same with the traditions. Everyone loves their traditions, don't they? So the Boxing Day Test match always goes on after Christmas Day, and everyone sits around with their hangovers and their fat guts watching the Boxing Day Test, and I'm not even sure half the time people are watching it. It's just a tradition. The TV's the Boxing Day Test has got to be on. So, and then people wander out, and they, as you said, backyard cricket is immense. So it's just something that happens over here in a big way.
So the one thing I love about watching the Big Bash, you get the like the super catches in the garden or something that's happened, and everyone's sending their home videos and stuff in, and there's people taking like specky catches over swimming pools and off trampolines and stuff. You ever take any blinding catches in the garden?
Well, I live in an apartment, so we haven't got a garden. No, I've got a townhouse here, but there's all concrete out the front, mate. I like to bring my kids up tough. Yeah. So if they're gonna win it, they're gonna have to dive on some concrete.
Fair enough.
Also, Red, your first 100 you scored for Surrey. You're playing against, was it Devon Malcolm, Dominic Cork? You weren't wearing a helmet.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, where'd you find that out?
Me notes say first 100 v Derby, no helmet. Are you mad?
Who said that?
No, that's my question. Are you mad for not wearing a helmet?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was insane. Well, it seems crazy now, but at that stage, the helmets weren't that big a thing, and they were around, obviously. They were very good, and I'd never worn one before. So, playing county seconds is probably not quite as dangerous. And then all of a sudden, I made my debut against those guys who could bowl pretty quick, and I just didn't think that was the right place to be putting a helmet on for the first time, to try and go and bat, trying to look through a visor. It was like, so I thought, oh well, okay, just I didn't wear a helmet for my first season and a half, and then I think we played a game against Andre Van Troost. I don't know if you guys ever heard about him, but I don't know where that guy is, but that's the fastest bowling I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, you know what? I might get out, but if I don't wear a helmet, I could die. So I decided that day was I was going to wear a helmet. I think that was like second last game of the season or something. And then I made a pact to myself that I'd practice that winter with a helmet on, so that the next season. And then I wore a helmet my whole career after that.
It's amazing when you think now, like obviously there's quick bowlers in the world at the minute, but back then there was some seriously quick bowlers, probably playing on more spicy pitches. But the amount of blokes that didn't used to wear helmets.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Well, obviously I do get it. The technology wasn't quite there, but is it a confidence thing that, I'm confident enough to play the short ball, or I don't know. Do you just duck if it's short? Literally just trust your instincts and get out the way, or it's frightening.
Yeah, it is, but it was just normal. I mean, it's only when everyone starts doing something becomes normal. It's like, you're probably too young to remember, but actually the other day I went to the supermarket when this pandemic first started out, and I remember the first time there was that hand sanitizer and you had to wash your hands before you're allowed in there, and I was like, this is unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this in my life. But now it's everywhere and it seems quite normal. And then I started thinking back to other times in my life when I remember when I first started flying, there was a smoking section on the plane, and there was like a curtain between the smoking. It was like the smoke couldn't get past the curtain or something. But it was like, and I was thinking, I look back, my kids, or their kids will say, did you live in that era, in that filthy era when you were allowed to walk into a shop without washing your hands? And we'll be like, yeah, I can't believe we used to be doing that. But now, and it's going that way. But back when, I certainly wasn't one of the best players in the world, but there was other people not wearing helmets. So it didn't, now I look back and I go, oh, I was an idiot. Well, I was an idiot anyway, but just that aside, it was like, what was I thinking? But it just, because there was other people doing it as well, it just didn't seem like that big an idea now. The thought of going and having a bat now, or even the second half of my career without a helmet, was just, I wore them against spinners. I thought, why wouldn't you? Just sensible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't explain my thinking. I don't know what I was thinking. But there's a lot, I could say that about a lot of things in my life.
22-year-old Surrey captain. Team of all talents, I believe. Team of absolute superstars. 3 county championships, 2 Benson and Edges, a NatWest Trophy, T20 competition, I believe, as well.
Yeah, a couple of Sunday leagues as well, mate. Don't forget that.
And age of 22, what obviously playing in that dressing room must have been brilliant, but becoming captain and being captain of that great team, how did you find it? How did you manage it?
Can I just ask something just to add on to that? How long had you been playing, and how long had you been at the sort of a first team regular before you got given that captaincy?
I can't. Well, firstly, I can't believe I was only 22, because I felt like I was older than that. But I'd been in the first team for probably 2-3 seasons, something like that. But I think what people also probably find weird is we were going through, when I took over the captaincy, we were going through a really bad time. Alex Stewart was the normal captain. He was the guy who was captain, but he was off playing with England a lot. And then when he would go, it basically was Alex and Graham Thorpe who would always go away. Then we didn't have a spinner, so our seamers were bowling a lot, so our seamers were injured a lot. So we weren't doing very well. And then the other guys in the side, people, like Martin Bicknell, Joe Bent, lots of guys had to go. I'm trying to think of the other, Tony Pygott, a lot of other guys had to go at the captaincy. So people think I was this amazing born leader that just got given the captaincy at the age of 22. Only reason I got given the captaincy was because they'd tried everybody else and they were all even worse. So we were bottom of the table. And I think the reason why it worked is because when I became captain, I said to the guy, I'd never captained anything, any sports team. I was always a rebellious, sort of the kid who never got to captain anything because I just wasn't captaincy material. And then I think when Graham Clinton was the coach, he came up and said, "We want you to be captain." I literally thought someone was standing behind me. I thought, what, me? And I think everybody else thought the same. And I think the reason why it was successful is because, not because I was particularly tactically astute or anything like that. I think just because I accepted the captaincy, but I remember saying to the side, "Hey, look, I've never done this before. I'm going to need some help from you guys." And I actually approached it in quite a humble way. And it sort of effectively, I just became the face of the team, but all the ideas came from within. From the outside, everyone thought, "Oh, he's this young, confident, cocky leader who just does everything from the front and tells it." It was probably nothing further from the truth. It was almost the opposite.
Yeah.
So we almost ran the side. It was just like it was like a democracy. Everyone had a chance to say what they wanted, and the best thing about my captaincy was I had really good players. So and I'm quite happy to have taken all the acclaim over the years for it, but realistically, we just had an amazing group of players, and I was just in the right place at the right time.
I imagine with that amazing group of players you've just mentioned, there's obviously probably a few egos in there as well. So if everyone's having their own opinion and stuff like that, was there any fallout, any blow-ups, that kind of stuff? So I can't imagine everyone agreed with everyone all of the time.
No, there was regular blow-ups. I would say if I was to try and give myself credit, I mean, from the outside, I think when people think of captaincy, they think of, we'll have a fly slip 10 yards to the left and the guy's going to bowl it there and he's going to hit it. That stuff happens once in a blue moon, and usually when you're winning the game anyway. So tactically, it was neither here nor there. But I would say the one thing that I was pretty good at was keeping people on track. And I think everyone from the outside, again, thinks that I was some guy that cracked the whip and kept all these strong egos in check. I don't think I did that. I think I just let people speak. Everyone just wants to feel heard. Everyone just wants a hug. So it's like, I just feel like I just let people be themselves. I wasn't a dictator, I don't think. Maybe, I might get that wrong. And there might be some people who thought I was. But I just tried to let the talent in the team, I just let people do what they want because I was the least experienced and probably the least knowledgeable in that side. So maybe that in itself is having knowledge by acknowledging that I'm not as wasn't as advanced as some of those. But that's how I saw it, really, I think.
What was the I'm always interested in this. What was the social scene like back in them days?
I've only been on this podcast for like, 10 minutes, but I'm getting a feeling that socializing and beer plays a big part in it.
Mate, we're from the northeast of England, right? You'll have been up. There's fucking nothing else to
do. Yeah, I have been. You're right. Yeah, I totally get it. So come out to the Gold Coast. We still do the same thing here.
No, No, but what was it like? Good crack.
Well, I mean, we lived in London. We were pretty successful. We were young, and I really think we enjoyed it. I think, I'm not sure if our generation was the last generation to really, I'm sure people party now and whatever, but we were I started my career where we turned up April the 1st, and we didn't have a strength and conditioning coach. Our physio was an old guy from the Second World War. He used to tell us all right, we've got to get you fit before the first game in 2 weeks. And it was just basically sprint until you threw up, and basically everyone got injured. That was how it was till the end of my career, where we were training like bleep tests and parachutes on our back, and everyone had a off-season fitness regime. So during that period from 1989 to 2004, the game completely changed. So things like being sensible with alcohol probably only came in the 2000s, because before, in the 90s, I don't think that was a sentence that ever came out of anyone's mouth, and we just enjoyed it. I'm kind of glad. I mean, look, people ask me, all the money that is going around now, you wish you played now. And I'm like, not really. I kind of enjoyed our era. We had some fun. I don't think those guys are fortunate enough to be able to do the things that we did. And look, don't get me wrong, that it still must be great to be a professional cricketer now, but we had a lot of fun.
I wish I played it. I wish I played back then. 100%.
Sounds like you'd have fitted in.
I would have chose 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was a good channel. And then the funny thing is, though, you hear the guys in the era before us, and it sounds like they were next level again. So, guys drinking in the middle of a test match, and what? So I think it's just going to keep, getting more and more professional. And
did anyone? Well, I'm sure I'm not going to say did anyone. There must have been times where someone's turned up the next morning. Clearly, they've had a few too many. Did anyone turn up, not play very well, and how would sort of the bigger characters in the dressing room approach that? Or would it be sort of people just take a blind eye and sort of say, look, he's failed this time, but next game he might do better? Was there anything like that going on, or did people just let people do their own thing and there was no kind of judgment afterwards?
No, I think it was more of I think it was actually spoken about up front, like, because some days, I mean, you guys don't have it so much now, but some days we play 28 days out of a month.
Yeah,
and it's crazy, and then there'd be traveling days, and so then the next month you might only play 14 days in the month. So I remember I'd actually say, look, hey guys, we've got this period of time coming up, we've just got to be on it, and we can't afford to, we've got to make sure we're getting our rest. But then the next month we'd give it a crack. So I'd actually say, look, if you're going to go out, sometimes the other thing is we had times when we'd score 500 and we'd bowl the opposition out for 150 or something like that, and then they were 5 for 100 in the second innings, and we're like, we're stupid if we don't go out and have a few drinks tonight because this game's done. And we would. So, but we were pretty, I think with experience came that realization when was the right time to do it. And I mean, look, those guys get it wrong, but also don't forget we weren't playing for sheep stations back then, and there wasn't. So it got mentioned, and it was more from within the side. We just pulled ourselves in. It was usually the young guys who needed to be sort of told. But if you go out and you have a big night, you don't come in the next day going, I feel terrible, and using it as an excuse for playing badly.
Yeah.
It was like you just keep quiet and you get in and you do your job. And if you so happen to have a bad day, you just that's the way it is. But what we didn't do was, and we never spoke about it the next day. It was like we came in, we went out, we partied hard, and then be like, we're there to focus and do our job the next day. We weren't all there going, still talking about the night before that day. So and it was pretty I think that in itself takes a special group of individuals to sort of manage it. I'm not saying I was, the grand poobah here who managed it. It was like it was from within the side. We had a lot of senior guys, and I remember one time we had a young kid come in. I think it would have been towards the end of my captaincy. I don't think he was even playing. I think he was 12th man, and we had a massive night. We had this game wrapped up. It was at Edgbaston, and he was the next morning. I think the coach asked him to throw the catches for the slip catches.
Yeah.
And so we had like Alex Stewart wicket-keeping, Graham Thorpe first slip, Mark Butcher second slip, myself, and he was throwing like a person throwing for the first time, and we'd all been out the night before with him. I don't think Alec had, because I don't think Alec drank much, but the rest of us had, and then he came. He said, "Oh, I couldn't throw very well because I was so drunk the night before," and he got shot down. We go, "Nah, that's not how it happens." And I thought, poor kid was like, "Oh, I've got 300 test match caps here telling me that I've done the wrong thing." So he got put straight in his place. We're like, you don't make these an poor performance. You don't make the excuse for your poor performance by, saying you're out drinking. That just doesn't happen. You turn up and you get the job done. So,
have you ever been out in the middle of a game, Chris?
A few times. Same thing. Obviously when I started playing was 13 years ago. So again, it was still more. Not I wouldn't say more of a normal thing, but a lot more people did it when I first started playing. So I don't know, you get dragged along by the senior players who had played for a bit longer, so they were used to doing that. You'd go and have a few beers. But again, to me, that was how I kind of learned a lot more about playing, was having a few beers with people like Harmy, Divenuto, Benkenstein, these senior blokes, and they weren't going out getting like rat-arsed every night, but they'd go and have a few beers, and you just sit and chat cricket. Where you look to the lads now, the younger lads, senior lads now, that it doesn't happen. So it just shows you that generation thing. Like you say, it's just going to keep on getting more and more sort of professional and serious. And I think it's probably the right way, the amount of money that's coming into the game. But I've turned up sometimes rough, but exactly like you've just said, you can't make that an excuse. You've just got to put your head down, get on with it and do your job. Because one, you feel like you've let your teammates down if you've had a bad day in the first place. And if you start blaming things like going out and stuff, then, you look like a tit and you feel even worse. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And it's one thing I do. I coach still. Coach the Queensland. I coach the Queensland batsmen out here. And the one thing everything's. I mean, you mentioned before there was fast bowlers around. I mean, you ask anyone from my generation, the bowlers were faster, the batsmen hit the ball further, the fielders were better, and everything was better. It's 100% not the case. Bowlers bowl faster now, batsmen, but everything's better physically, because if everyone, the 100-meter times, everyone's running faster, everyone's jumping high. So cricket's the only game which has got worse. It's like, come on. So you've got to be real about it. But the one thing I will say, which I question has improved, maybe not at the rate of the physical side of things, is exactly what you were talking about there. I think cricket's a game where there's a lot to be learned in the mind, and that can be accelerated by talking about it. And I feel that maybe now not so many players talk about the game as back in our day. Maybe that's because they're too busy training and actually getting fit, right? But I feel like you can make up for a lack of problem-solving ability by being powerful or fast or strong. So I feel that's maybe the area of the game that hasn't accelerated as much as the physical side of the game.
Good stuff. So your England career. How would you describe your England career, Adam?
I would describe it in two parts. I mean, I burst onto the scene and I had a great start to my career. And then it sort of like petered out, I guess. And I'm not sure why. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question, actually. So, but I started out, I think I should have retired after 5 games. I think I was averaging about 180 with the bat and like something like 7 with the ball. So then it started to go wrong. But what did help, I think, that I played quite a few of my first games of for England were against Pakistan. And I think those guys, a lot of that at the time, they were right in the middle of the match fixing thing. So I was getting a lot of wickets and I couldn't work out why. So I think they wanted me to be successful more than I did. So I think my first couple of, especially with the ball, I think my first 2 one-day internationals, I got 8 wickets in the first 2 games, and I hadn't been getting that many wickets in county cricket, and all of a sudden I got, I think, 8 for 60 with 4 for 20 and 4 for 40 in 2 one-day internationals back to back. And
what was the England bowling attack you joined? So when you first started playing, who was the attack?
In that game, I think it was that series. It was Gough, Cork, Caddick, maybe. I'm trying to think who else was floating around. I mean, Headley. That's that sort of generation. Elam was playing in the one days. Robert Croft bowled some spin. So that was that sort of era. So yeah, but yeah, like I said, got plenty of wickets my first few games. But I think, like I said, I think old Salim Malik had a bet on me as well, unfortunately.
What was your proudest moment playing for England?
For England. So I think I was born in Australia, and my whole career, all I've done is been sledged by the Australians, and like Australians hate English cricketers, but the only thing they hate more than an English cricketer is an English cricketer that was born in Australia. So I think when we beat them 3-0 and I got man of the series in that series, I think individually that would be my proudest moment. But then I think captaining when we won the tournament out in Sharjah, India, Pakistan, West Indies, I think that was the first time before England won the World Cup in 2019. That was the only time England had ever won a one-day international tournament with more than 3 teams in it. So that was pretty, that was proud as well. Those 2 moments probably.
In terms of, obviously, your England career as well, in terms of test matches, guess big highlight would have been yourself and your brother Ben. Did you make your test debuts together?
Yeah.
Huge moment for the family, was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a huge moment. Yeah, because in fact, I think I read the other day that we might have been the only brothers that century who made their test debuts together. So, or maybe it was just in the Ashes or something. I don't know, but I didn't realize how big a moment it was until Sam Curran, and at the time it was just like, oh yeah, it was. I'm not saying it wasn't a big moment. It was a big moment, but I don't think either of us realized how big a moment it was. And I think I read Sam Curran and Tom Curran played, and they were the only brothers this century that had played together. And then there was me, and there was the Richardsons or something like that might have. Some Richardsons, or I'm not sure. Anyway, it was pretty rare. So
I bet there's very few people actually play with their brother in a test match. Never mind make test debuts together. That's got to be.
Yeah, I think it's pretty rare. Yeah. I mean, you can think of the brothers, can't you? The Chappells, the Wars, the Flowers. So yeah, it is pretty rare. But yeah, and I look back now. At the time, like I said, didn't seem. I mean, I'm not saying we were blasé about it. Of course, it was a big moment, but when I look back now, I realise it was probably a bigger moment than what we felt at the time. Because the other thing is, don't forget, we'd already played some one-day internationals together and had success there, and so it just seemed like a natural progression that we were going to play some test matches. And when it started, there's cameramen everywhere, and everyone's saying, well, "What's all the fuss about here?" You know what I mean? But now I'm glad that it was like that. So,
who got the test cap first? Who's got the first number?
I don't know. Hey,
Really?
I don't know. I'm not sure what the numbers. I know I'm 5'87", so I think probably me might be alphabetically.
Yeah.
I don't know how they work that, but should have been me. It should have been me. I was more handsome, more articulate, more humble. So yeah, I don't know. I have to look that one up. But I think actually an interesting thing about those caps is because now the caps are a massive deal.
Yeah.
Back then, it was just something to keep the sun out of your eyes, and they presented the cap, and I think they just started doing it, but it wasn't as big a deal as it is now. And I think for Australia, it'll become a big deal.
Yeah.
But I think we kind of followed Australia's lead, and then people now, they're like, I did my first. The first day I was we were in the field for the whole first day, and I think I wore a floppy hat because they didn't have a cap that would fit. And I think Steve Waugh basically wrote about it in his book, saying it was a disgrace. And I imagine not wearing the cap. I was like, firstly, we didn't have one that fit, and secondly, that was their thing.
Yeah.
That was Australia's thing. That wasn't our thing. So it didn't make me any less proud to be playing. So it's interesting how the whole cap thing now is like a whole ceremony amounts to.
It's evolved, hasn't it?
Pardon?
Evolved, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it's great. I'm not poo-pooing it, but it just wasn't like that back then. I think it's great, that everyone acknowledges it because there are proud moments, and you don't realise it as much at the time until afterwards. So I'm glad that they've made a lot more fuss about it than what it used to be.
If you could have picked any of your hero that had played Test cricket to give you your first cap with these big ceremonies, who would you pick? Who was your hero?
Probably Viv Richards, but I didn't play for the West Indies, so maybe Gucci. Graham Gooch is like a legend. I can't believe that guy's not knighted. Why is he not Sir Graham Gooch? He's got to be
unbelievable.
He's got to be unbelievable. Like an amazing man. I mean, I think he's the leading run scorer of all time in cricket, in first class cricket. He's the leading run scorer. If he's not the leading one, he might be second, but he's got a hell of a lot of runs. He was like England's leading test run scorer. He's done incredible things for charity. He's done incredible things coaching in the game. He's just the best. I love that man. And I think that he would have been inspirational to get your cap off him. I'm not saying actors wasn't, but we all have our people that are. Yeah.
Good stuff. Right, Adam, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate you giving up your time. I know it's getting a bit late over there on the Gold Coast.
All
right. But no, super thanks. Really, really appreciative.
No problems. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Cheers, Adam. Been a pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Stay at the bar, Chris. Keep that career going.
I got to get as many years out of my career as I can, so I'm in the gym all the time now, mate.
Yeah, it looks like your hair fell off while you were in there.
Years ago.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, mate. Take care.
Cheers. Catch ya. Bye.
If your club is looking for new kit next season, contact Ambition Sport. Whatever your sport, whatever your standard, whatever your club size, Ambition Sport can create bespoke, fully sublimated kits to be proud of, as well as your training and leisure wear. Ambition Sport also run online club shops for your members to be able to order their own kit. taking away the hassle of organising orders, and with a 10% discount off your first order using the code LENGTHDOESMATTER, now really is the time to get set up. To find out more, email info@ambitionsport.com or find us on Instagram @ambition_activewear, where you'll find a range of kits already produced for all sports and all standards. Ambition Sport. Get your kit on.